So I really need to share this story with somebody. I'm a soldier, and just a few short years ago, I was caught up on a deployment overseas with an amazing staff. And in preparation for that deployment, we had to do something called a pre-mode. Now, pre-mode is simply when we go away from our families to focus on the task at hand. And we had to go to Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas for this particular situation. So during pre-mode, one of our key activities was resilience training. Now, this training is designed to teach us tips and strategies to ensure that we remain focused solely just on the mission. And in one of these sessions, we were divided into teams, just some groups. And here we were guided by some professionals, and they asked us to share some of our stories of resilience. Anything that we might have went through in our personal lives, in our military careers, anything that we might overcome, just to help with this. We had a senior leader in the unit who stood up and shared one of the most powerful stories I'd ever heard. This leader spoke about surviving a brutal SA. She described everything she endured. She talked about the 2-year long legal process. She talked about the physical, mental, and emotional healing that was required. She talked about the years of therapy, not being able to trust anybody. She was very transparent and very vulnerable. But the part that stood out to me the most was how this leader overcame all those challenges to go on to have a fantastic, in her words, 25-year military career. She talked about the people she was able to lead and the people and the places she was able to go. And as she concluded her story, the youngest soldier in the room, who had been in the Army for less than a year, began to really weep. And I think everybody thought it was because the story was really emotional. But what we didn't know at the time was that that young soldier was experiencing the same trauma that the senior leader just described. Suddenly, the soldier stood up and revealed that she was being assaulted as well, and that the perpetrator was in the room. Several soldiers and myself immediately removed everybody involved. Some soldiers went to comfort her. Some soldiers went to just get this guy away from it. And we found out quickly that he was guilty of all these things. This senior leader story gave this young soldier courage to step out of her traumatic situation and end her abuse. This one story empowered someone to fight their way out of a horrific situation and just a terrible experience. And I share this example to demonstrate the potential of your own story to have great power. Your story may not be as dramatic as this. It may not have that same type of impact, but it will have significance, influence, and it can offer somebody some sort of strength. Who knows, maybe your story is the story that saves somebody's life or get them through an amazingly tough time. Now, stories are powerful. Now, here's what I've learned that science has had to say about it. Neuroscience reveals that narratives are powerful because our brains biologically are wired to process information in a story form. Now, this is supposed to enhance our attention, memory, as well as empathy through specific neural and chemical processes. One of these processes is called, I think it was neural coupling, or another way to say it is mirroring. When somebody's telling an engaging story, the listener's brain activity begins to synchronize with the patterns of the speaker's brains. That's just crazy to me. And this like mind melt allows the listener to mentally stimulate the speaker's experience with emotions and foster deep connection and shared experience. In other words, our brains are designed to process storytelling as one of the clearest ways of communication. This blew my mind just learning about it. But with that in mind, here's 3 ways you can tell your story. So first, there's an origin story. This is where you come from or how you got where you are. The purpose of this story is to build trust and show your humanity. It might begin something like this. There was a moment when I realized I couldn't keep hiding my story. Here, you share your beginnings as well as how you started. This is the origin story. Next is called the mirror story. This type of story says we have shared experiences or same experiences. Its purpose is to make your audience feel seen and understood. You might start that story something like this. If you ever felt like your content wasn't landing, I want to tell you about the night that I realized mine wasn't landing either. This story reflects shared frustrations, pains, or even disappointments. Now that's the mirror story. And then there's the stand story. This is what you believe. Its purpose is to attract the right people and repel the wrong ones. It might begin something like, here's what I believe, and it may not be popular. In that story, you're going to share your core values and your beliefs. That's it. Each of these stories connect in a different but powerful way. Now, the origin story shows you where you come from. The mirror story shares pain and shows others that they're not alone. And your stand story just expresses what you believe, your core values. Now that I've shown you the power of your story and 3 ways to tell it, here's my challenge to you. We live in a world full of fear, hopelessness, distrust, negativity. As we enter this holiday season, I want to give you the opportunity to have impact on somebody else's life, even someone you may not have ever met. I need you to share your powerful story. You might be thinking, I don't think anybody wants to hear what I got to say, or nobody cares about my story, or I'm not sure what to say, or the thing that I struggle with the most, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. But my voice or your voice isn't for you, but your story isn't just about you. The Bible says that we are overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. This word testimony is another way of saying story. Your story is designed to give someone else strength to overcome their situation. So within the next 24 hours, I want to challenge you to share one of these stories online. If you don't have social media, if you don't have a platform, that's fine. Share it on somebody else's page, but post it as soon as you can. Just take 2, 3, maybe even 5 or 6 minutes to record yourself telling your story. And when you finish, share something that you've learned, gained, or something that may have changed everything for you. Everyone has personal power. And whether you believe it or not, your story can be a positive impact and influence on somebody else's life. It's not necessarily about you. And remember, sharing your story benefits not only the listener, but also the storyteller. You get to reflect with gratitude on all things that you've had to overcome, all the obstacles, all the challenges, and all the lessons that you got a chance to learn along the way. Now, as I wrap this up, I want to remind you that your story may not make you internet famous, but you only need to affect one life to make a difference in this world. And at the end of the day, the goal is growth, and growth happens within a journey. Share your story, change your life. Enjoy it.